Hi, I think we're live, Jen. Welcome, everybody. We're going to have a great subject today. And so, as you join, we'd love to say hello to those who are going to be with us today. And this is a great topic because, and I hear this so often, I bet you do as well, Jen, kind of in our groups and or coaching, and it certainly comes up in the Conquer a lot. How do we really know when someone is changing? For many of our girls, they've been around this block a few times. And it feels real every time. And it becomes a heartache when it was 3 weeks long or 6 weeks long or 3 months long, right? And that sobriety in whatever form was not sustained. And that's a real grief. And we know that and understand that and experience that, right? And so I think that's why I think this topic is really good. And it's a time for us to be able to calm down and just kind of join in that. And so, Betsy, hello, and Patience.
I know. I'm waving at people and I'm like, hi, Jen. And I'm like, hey, we're here.
Yeah. And so, Robin,
it's
hey.
so cool to see familiar, well, I want to say familiar faces, but names for sure. And welcome to anybody that hasn't even been here before. This is a precious topic. Maybe a friend invited you. Maybe this is really scary and something pulled you in. We know it was the Holy Spirit that pulls us into these things.
Yeah.
So welcome to everybody.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, we've already got some people watching over us. So one is that I would love for this to be an interactive moment. And I think the girls in our group have really begun to interface more and more with us in conversation. And we really appreciate that because we do want this time to be for you. We also want to remind you, and Jen, if I kind of fumble over this, I'm not usually one that makes these announcements, but this is Leslie's public page. I think you all hear us, and we do have to give this warning each and every time. And so we would love for you to ask questions, and we have a place for you to go to be able to ask those questions. And maybe sometimes we're going to read them off the feed. But if for any reason, be very careful and cautious, use your own discretion in what you say. And because know that this is for the public to be able to see. And so we just want to give that caveat and that warning to anybody who does not know that this is a public page. And so we have a lot of private pages.
And that's perfect. And so if you want to, you can comment here in a safe way, like Elise was saying, but then Karen will also post our trusted Karen. So she's probably sick of me this week. I'm not sure, but our trusted Karen in the background, she will post a link that you can actually add in your private comments anonymously. We will read the questions. Elise and I will make sure that we have time to do that and answer your questions about today's topic, which are what are the signs of real change in him? So listen, also, can I just do this too? Because this is a little different in the sense that, we know we can get all kinds of people here because this is the public page. So if you are a him and you are looking for what seems like change in your heart, I hope you get a blessing out of this conversation today as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
This isn't just for our women to have a checklist. This is also for any men out there that are wanting to, what would I say? Like prove themselves something. Yeah.
I think wanting to do it right and to do it right. And to be a part of, like, if your heart is absolutely determined to do it differently than you've done in the past. I think these are some steps in which you can allow your loved one to know that you are willing to do it differently. And I think one of the very first things is that you accept responsibility. And so we're going to assume some men are on here, but we're going to also say to the ladies that not do they just kind of whimsically say they're sorry, but they take full responsibility and ownership. Yes, I have chosen this behavior or chosen this whatever, and that was not infidelity to what I promised you, right? And so, but I do want these to be in somewhat, not specific specific, but not specific to our spouse, because we can be an offender as well, right? And, we have had to say we're sorry as well. And we have had to not really say, we've said we're sorry and maybe not really wanted to do the work it takes to do it differently, right? And so what I'd love for you all to do is really, as we go through this, is really look at your own heart, examine your own heart as well. Has there been a place where I've thought I was going to change, or I've said I was going to change and I wanted to do it differently? I mean, the truth is, how many of us said we wanted to lose 5 pounds and the very next day we're eating my almond M&Ms, right? Instead of doing what I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
It's growth and maturity and dependence, not on ourselves, but oftentimes dependence on others to help you do that. And sometimes I'm going to use some addiction language, but sometimes in the relapse, whether it's drugs or alcohol or some other form of, habit that it's gone past the habit point and it's an addiction. But sometimes there's really a lot of education and learning in the relapse. And one of the things that I really, I think is so great about AA and the 12 steps is that the very first step is that really we admit that we're powerless over this. Yeah. And I think that is an enormous step. And that's not really in our kind of our structure, so to speak, but I want you to know that, a lot of people just aren't willing to take full ownership. And that's kind of this number one step that, this is a part of something that's got me more than I've got it. I want to have it. I don't want it to have control over me, yet it does. And so, whether they relapse or not, that full ownership of really saying, yes, I love it. This is what I do. I hate it. I hate it about myself. I may love the actual moment or whatever, if it's substance use or whatever bad habit that we've gotten ourselves involved in, that is an affront to first and foremost our Lord, and then to our loved ones, right? We live before the eyes of the Lord. Our spouses live before the eyes of the Lord. And so long before they sin against us or we sin against them, we have sinned before the Lord. Yeah. And so that moment in which we say, I have to take full responsibility. And here's how I'm going to take full responsibility. And
so ladies, it's admitting it first and foremost, right? That's what, and then and what am I going to do about it?
Right. Yeah. That you're not going to instruct them, that they're going to instruct themselves. Yeah. And that's what ownership does. I don't need to tell you to go to counseling. If you don't want to go to counseling, if you don't want to attend a group, if you don't need to go to rehab, whatever it is that has been an affront to your relationship, marriage or not, right? And something that has captured your heart and has got more of your heart than you've got of it, right? If you don't have a willingness to say, and yet you remain willful, I won't do counseling, I won't do this, I won't do that, I'll be fine, you'll see. Like, buyer beware, right?
Exactly. Okay. It's all information coming in, right? So I see a lot going on in the chat, which is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Keep doing that. Add in, what are your signs of change? And maybe if you feel safe enough, it could be about your own personal story, but just what would be signs of change in another person? Your neighbor, a friend, somebody. How would you know if somebody is changing? So what Coach Elise is talking about is really important. It's that willfulness. Am I saying that right? Willingness and willfulness.
Well, willingness versus ownership. Yeah. That they are willing to seek accountability, seek help, saying, I can't do this on my own. I've tried to do it on my own. I'm unsuccessful on my own.
So it's a little bit of humility too in there.
A whole lot of humility. Nobody wants to have something in control of them.
Right.
And that's why this first step of AA is so important, is that, I no longer have control.
Well, and I love those 12 steps.
Mhm.
So speaking from personal experience, so as many as you might know out
Mhm.
there, that my husband is a recovering sex addict. So he's done his 12 steps, still goes to his meetings.
Mhm.
I have done my own version of it as a
Mhm.
partner. Um,
Mhm.
and so it doesn't matter if you believe in that kind of stuff or not, but you're right, Elise. It's like, it's just giving it to God. The first 3 steps are about letting
Right.
go and letting God.
Right.
And that's part of seeing some change, just that
Right.
humility, all
Right.
that fruit of the spirit,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
So,
Right. And
which
it's
is,
a work in progress.
yeah. Oh, it's a lifelong
Right.
journey.
Well, I think that
Absolutely.
that's it. I think that's one of the things that we have to mention as well is that I think when something, has been a long-term habit, has been habitual, then it's long-term recovery,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Personally, I'm grateful for
oh
that.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be a life coach. I wouldn't have transitioned from my nursing career to doing this had my circumstances been any different.
Yeah.
So for that,
Yeah.
I'm grateful. And I just pray to the Lord every day that He will continue to grow me
Yeah.
and allow me to be the person that I am, to try to help people, to have met you, Leslie, and
Right.
every wonderful person that's tuning in
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah.
um, so let's pause a little bit here
Okay. Okay.
and to see some of the comments that
Yeah,
are
for sure.
happening. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit if you can bear with me.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so we're seeing, Robin says being consistent and observable, because we don't know what's inside someone's head or their heart.
Right. Right.
That's, I think, one of our catchphrases for sure is believe behaviors.
Yeah, for sure. For
I'm
sure.
so sorry. And yet they go and do it again tomorrow.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, they might be sorry
Um,
for 5 minutes.
and I'm sure that's true.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but we have some amazing comments in here, so keep them coming in. The
Mhm.
one thing I want to mention too that we didn't talk about beforehand, what you're reminding me of, Elise, is, you know how we do the love languages? Put a 1
Yes.
into the chat. Put a 1 into the chat if you know what the love languages are. The 5
Right.
love languages.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Acts of service,
So yeah,
time. Right. Right.
quality, yeah,
Right.
yeah, words of
Yeah. I don't think
affirmation.
I can repeat them all, but yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So this is where I'm definitely going to fumble up. Yeah. So people are saying, thank you. Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. So is it Gary Chapman? I think is the author.
You,
Anyway,
um,
um,
any of
he
you
also,
who know in the chat, feel free to help us out
I
here.
know, because I've got all my stuff is back there in my, in my bookshelf.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of that to say, he also does a quick quiz online for the apologies love language.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
I know that came to me. Yeah, thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, so that whole idea of what you're talking about speaks to my apology language.
Mhm.
So if you are going to truly say sorry to me, Elise, I need
Mhm.
you to say I'm sorry. I
Right.
need you to say how that must have made me feel.
Mhm.
And what am I going to do about it?
Right. Right.
So it's the actual apology, it's the empathy, and then it's the action.
Right. Right.
That's for me. So some of you might need to see that, but you know what? I'm not endorsing, and Leslie doesn't endorse Gary. This is
Right. Right. Right.
Jen thing.
No.
But that might be helpful for some of you, because when my husband did the quiz, he was just like, Jen, just say you're sorry.
I'm not sure
No,
I understand.
sorry. So even my watch is going, what? I don't understand that.
Siri's
But
chiming in.
yeah, so even my husband was like, just Jen, just say sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Because from you, I need this, this, and this. So again, it's that different love language. We all show up differently. So there's different signs about
Right.
what change looks like. An apology and ownership and willfulness is just a couple to start with.
Right. Yeah. And so he accepts responsibility. I think what you're saying too, he makes amends.
Yeah.
Like what, again, that's, part of the AA program as well,
Mhm.
because we recognize how important it is to say and to do what I need to do to restore. Like, how do I restore what was breached, what was broken?
Mm.
Can I make amends and there be restoration? Right now, I mean, there's always the crack may show, so to speak. We kind of know that the injury is there. We can't undo knowing, but we can make amends, and trust can be restored, relationship can be restored, but it does take this change. It does take humility. It does take a humble heart. And I think one of the things that I think I would be prone to, and you know, I think our women are often prone to, is to see at a single moment a very contrite heart and kind of melt over that. Like,
Mm.
that really gets us all. And it should on some level, because we're very connected and bonded with our spouse. And to see a super contrite heart. And so that contrition may be as genuine can be, but change hasn't happened. They
Mm.
make real changes happen, but we haven't now started on the long journey, on the long road of saying, what does it look like day in and day out to refrain from something that was habitual, right? And we have an enemy who's roaming around, seeking to,
Oh,
find who
you
he can.
gave me the chills when you said that because it's so true. It's like you
Yeah,
can feel
it
it
really is. It really,
around you. Wow.
right. Yeah. And so, I mean, and none of us are exempt from that. None of us are exempt, right? And so we must, you know, heed that warning. And so again, someone who is trying to restore a broken relationship, I want to know that they believe that, that they are, a breath away from a bad decision, right? And so that they are always vigilant to succumb to what, the habit has been. And I
Yeah.
think that gets really hard. And again, the short road is, a lot of us can do a lot of things, or refrain from something for 30 days. But if somebody's going to take away permanently something that my body has been exposed to and has pleasure from or whatever forever, we're in another league. We
Yeah.
just are, right? And
Absolutely.
so, and so we cannot do it on our own. Nobody can do it on our own. And so, is your loved one who is trying to change, are they really availing themselves to community? And community of like-mindedness, right? Not community of support, like, yeah, I know how it feels. So sorry you did it again, buddy.
Yeah.
But real genuine accountability. Hey, what are you going to do about that?
So
So,
I love that you bring up that whole idea of accountability and community, sorry,
yeah.
because I just put it up there for those that are listening in. We are open to the Conquer membership that's coming up just now. We only do this twice a year. And so you can join us at leslievernick.com/Conquer sign up. It ends Friday. In terms of being able to enter, but
Yeah.
this is your chance for
Yes.
community. So this is
Yes.
Elisa talking about that as we
Yes.
heal and we see signs of growth and personal improvement, all of those types of things. This is
Mhm.
your chance to be part of
Yes.
like thousands of women that are involved with. We do 2 monthly Zoom
Okay.
calls. We do a Facebook page that's private, so you don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. You guys
Right.
get connected. We have circle groups. Karen can help us about all the details, I'm sure. But we have regions of women around the world so that you
Mhm.
can actually get connected physically, geographically, if that's important to you.
Right.
So this is a really great opportunity for you to have that sense of belonging
And
to other people that understand
yeah.
what's
Ladies, you
going
don't walk alone,
on. No,
right?
never.
You are not alone. And that's just the beauty. I mean, just so many comments that we hear right away when they're like, I mean, there's just such a relief when like, I thought I was alone out here, and I'm not at all. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly, as the ladies enter into this group and other women are commenting and other women are saying, "Hey, this is where it's hard for me," and then she'll get several responses on Facebook, and we have mentors and coaches who are watching the feed and really participating in that, so that you're being, you're not alone in many ways. And and again, we love so much that our mentors are so involved. They have, been in Conquer for a lot of years, and we trust them, and they, give so much feedback and responsiveness to the women, especially our newbies coming in. And we do call them newbies. This aha moment, yay, I'm not alone. And, we get to experience so much in Conquer. We hope that you will really consider it. It'll be a really beautiful and safe container for you to be
in. And think about all of the resources that are in there. Leslie is so generous. She gives so much of herself, right. And we just try to help support her, right, Elise, because we believe in this, and we want to help walk alongside all of you that might be here and struggling with some, how do I know is he changing? Is this safe for me? Right. There's lots of videos, blogs, articles, all kinds of resources in the Conquer Library that most people don't get the opportunity to see unless you sign up. Right. So anyway, wanted to do that little plug because I think it's important for us to join together as a community. And you brought that up.
Yeah, and we do close the doors. And you will, if you don't kind of take this opportunity, we open twice a year, right? Again in the fall. But we do want to be able to, kind of like have this freshman class, so to speak, and really do a very thoughtful and orientation, so that you will have access and understanding to all that's available to you. And so it's why we kind of close the doors after a couple of weeks and say, you're going to need to pause, and we'll open again in the fall. And we just really spend a lot of time with this new group of ladies that are coming in and support them as they really walk into Conquer in this support group. So, let's keep. Do you want to ask a couple of questions? We're almost at
let's do. Yeah, I know this is such an amazing topic that there's so many questions coming in. So can we go to some of the questions?
Let's do it.
So I'll read off the first one that I can see here. Thank you, Karen.
I'm going to read with you because
he has been sober. Okay. Sorry. Are we good to go? Okay.
We're good.
He has been sober from porn for a year, but I recently caught him in a lie about something else. He had a month to tell me and didn't. What does this mean for his sobriety? He's still choosing to lie. It was by omission, but it was still a lie. Slippery slope. I've got a lot to say about that, but I'll let you go first.
No. Will you? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, because of my background personally and professionally is mostly around sex addiction, porn addiction, lying, I think probably with anything, lying is the worst. I hear that all the time. Don't you, Elise? It's not even just substance.
Yeah, it breaches trust.
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah. And so when you're trying to feel safe and see signs of change, the fact that he's still lying, I could see my husband lie about a quick story, just so you guys can have an example. So we would be dropping off my stepson to his mom, all loving and all legit. And my husband would be on the phone with her or texting, whatever way it was. I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm in the car with him. And I'm like, we're half an hour away. I'm like, why are you even saying that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was a lie to make him feel better about himself. Even though the consequences later meant he was late and frustration and all that might ensue. So I didn't even realize what was happening at the time, but I kind of picked up on that stuff. So I know how powerful that is at breaking trust, even the little white lies. whatever that means to you.
Mhm.
The other thing that you mentioned was that he had a month to tell me and didn't. One of the things I recommend is the 24-hour tell rule. So that's between couples where you have 24 hours to go to your support group, your therapist, your coach, your best friend. I did this. I need to process. And then I'm going to share with my spouse or my respected partner what happened, so that I'm not going to traumatize you further, but that I've actually had a chance to think about, as Elise said earlier, how am I going to make amends? How am I going to own this? That
Mhm.
kind of thing. So the
Mhm.
fact that it took a month, not
Mhm.
cool, not a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say even, yeah, even, even if there hadn't been a porn issue, you have an issue, right?
Right.
Like, what's this about? Why, why did you choose not to be truthful with me? What's going on that you would, choose, it really is, it's an egregious affront to a relationship that is built on, I have to be able to trust you and you trust me for real intimacy, to know and be known. Like, if you're not saying the truth, then who are you? I don't know. And that's just the antithesis of what intimacy is about. And intimacy, it's not like we're flawless in intimacy. We have warts, but intimacy says, I kind of love you, warts and all, but I have to know who you are, right? If I don't know who you are, if you keep lying about all these things, I don't know who you are, then how can I open up the kimono and say, be with me? Because I know I'm safe. No. And so whether it's a porn issue, whether it's addiction,
Mhm.
drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, I mean, Susan and I did a talk on this a little earlier this week. I mean, I don't know at what point in my own life, you know, uh, this hit me. I hate to say it's probably, well into my 30s or 40s, which is, sad, but all of a sudden it kind of dawned on me, of all the things that God warned us about, and there's many warnings in scriptures and forbids and, all kind of things. God is instructing us all through his word. But of all the things, this is in the top 10, right? Thou shalt not lie. I mean, if we think about what transpired to get
Right.
those words on tablets to his people and said, follow these top 10 instructions, and lying is one of them.
Yeah.
I think we don't take it seriously enough.
Yeah.
I think it's
So,
very,
yeah, and
yeah,
I think we're hearing very clearly through the comments. Thank you everybody for participating and for loving on Jenny, in particular, as I look at the chat. So what we're seeing is that lying is definitely not a
right,
sign of real change, and the opposite of that we're hearing is trust.
right,
So trust is consistency over time.
right,
It's not
right.
perfection, like you said. Like
No, yeah,
we can't be perfect. We're human.
right.
We're
You know,
sinners. I know
commandment, yeah, for
but it's
sure.
consistency over time. So
Right.
even like using your example, if I'm not going to eat something, like I'm sorry for eating something tonight and tomorrow I won't do it, and then maybe we do.
Mhm.
Okay, that's maybe not consistent. But what if you didn't eat that tub of ice cream for the next week?
Mhm.
That's consistency. That's
Mhm.
good.
Right.
That's a that's no, but that's a good sign,
No, it
right?
is. Absolutely.
So, and you know what, Elise, and we didn't talk about this before, so it's just coming up for me. Really, what are signs? Right? Like when we look at what is God telling us, how do we decipher when he's giving what's a sign?
Well, I think honesty is a sign,
Mhm.
right? So that I haven't just stopped lying, and Chris Mole says this, and it just really stuck with me, and so I'm repeating him. But that it's not that a liar has stopped lying, which would be wonderful, but they have now become a truth teller, right? That really we're going from here over to here. We're not just like, oh, I'm going to stop that behavior, but I no longer, not only do I not participate in that behavior, but I am over on the other side. Like that is sinful. It's an affront. I have a change of heart. I
Mhm.
want to be a truth teller. I desire sobriety. I desire honesty. I desire connection. Because any, like lying, drugs, alcohol, porn, all those are disconnectors, the
Yeah.
very opposite of what we were created for,
Yeah.
right? They, and the opposite, the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is
With
connection, right? Is that
connection.
it?
Yep.
Yes. And so, right. And
Amen.
so the very things that we're saying, hey, how do I see change? Is that there's connection again,
Yeah.
right? There's some, you
Mhm.
know, coming towards one another, and not just for the one moment of I'm so sorry, and his head's in your lap, and you feel bad, and it feels better that he's remorseful, but we do see connection beginning to happen again, right? There's accountability, there's connection, there's remorse, and really, ladies, I would love for you all to participate in this as well. How those of you who have experienced some change in yourself and or in another person, what are some of the things that you began to relax or begin to trust because you begin to see
Yeah.
over time, right?
Well, I think that's another question that we've had come up.
Okay. Okay.
I think that it speaks to your point. A point of confusion for me is how often do you or should you look for change or even ask about what they're doing?
There's a little place in me that says if you have to ask, it isn't happening, and that may not be 100% true, right? But if
Yeah.
you can't really, if there isn't any noticeable differences, if he doesn't say, hey, you can go with me, I'd love for you to sit in the car, whatever, I need to go to, group tonight. And you see that he's going to group and you can, there are some places that he says, hey, I'm talking to my friend, let me, it's in my group. And, there's just all kind of connection beginning to happen again. Right. And so there shouldn't really be confusion. And I don't feel like you need to overly ask. If you have to really kind of hunt and find,
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm not sure that's a great sign.
I couldn't say anything else to that.
Okay. Yeah.
Honestly, like,
Something, but I sure would make it a little obvious, right? Okay.
yeah,
So I'll ask
yeah.
the next question. I'm so frozen in frustration right now. I'm not sure what to do. Our son is getting married in July and our daughter in October. The last two of the five kids will to be married. I told my husband of 30 years, I feel like our marriage is dying. And it is after years of covert control and his alcoholism. I just can't take it. After an hour and a half of, hold on, how long does this go? Okay. After an
Mhm.
hour and a half of talking and me crying and trying to get a lot of the feelings and frustrations a few nights ago, he asked if he could get to the gym before it closed. I'm at the end of my rope and don't know what way to turn right now. I'm signed up for Conquer and praying to the Lord for guidance. I think that's more of a statement than a question.
It is. It's an accountability statement.
Yeah.
She just committed to something that's going to change her life.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to do as
Mhm.
sisters
Mhm.
on this journey,
Yeah.
the Conquer journey, as Christians, as coaches, Elise. I mean, accountability is our big thing. So
For
you just made a powerful statement. So thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. And I think there's other women out there right now that are going to kind of hang on to what you just said.
Yeah. I'm
That's
tired and
really
need
cool.
to do something different. And
Yeah.
so we're talking about watching change. And our titles, watching change in him. She just made a statement. I'm going to make a change in me.
Hmm.
Right. I just kind of laid it all bare. And he said, thanks. I need to go to the gym. Right. Ouch. And she said, I'm not doing that again. Good for you. It's
Yep.
time for you to do some change.
So I'm compared to the gym kind of feeling. That's what, like, my initial reaction was like, oh, I just poured my heart out to you in tears for an hour and a half. And your response is, I'm going to the gym.
Right.
In
That's a
health.
lot of information, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In healthy relationships, that might be okay because he needs space, you need space, something's transpired.
Mhm.
But when this has been brewing for quite a long time, you've got a lot of stuff going on with the kids' marriages coming up, that kind of thing. It
Right.
just doesn't feel very loving and cool. And again, it's not a sign of change
Right.
that that he's going to improve or things are going to get different, but you get the chance to look at this as information.
Yeah, for
This is
sure.
powerful information.
And she said, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
You wise. Great. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. And this is, I think anybody, one is that I think relationships are really this independent with interdependence, right? It is that we have to always be taking care of ourselves, right? Whether there's, something egregious on the other side of us or not. My hope is that you are always taking care of yourself and self-stewarding yourself, right? And that it doesn't take this, being beat up and not physically beat up, but kind of like emotionally, like, for ever how many years for you to say, I've got to start taking care of myself. This isn't okay. Like, ladies, please give yourself permission to say, this is my one precious life and I'm going to steward it well. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, hope that there's change happens and I'm going to live in truth. And if there's not, then I'm still taking care of myself regardless. Whether he takes care of himself, and we can go forward. If not, I'm still good. Right.
Yeah.
And some level, it's going to be much better if there's restoration and a healing in a relationship. But it's going to be much worse if your life is dependent on his sobriety. Right.
Yeah. I just took a deep breath there as you're speaking into me. You're speaking into me. I'm like, you're so right. Like, preach, girl.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
I've done as well with one of my children, right? That, I mean, it was so egregious. I mean, as far as like, it hurt my heart to the core, right? In so many ways, but I couldn't live my life dependent on, someone's sobriety or not. Right. Otherwise, I mean, you can get sucked right into that vortex and guess who Satan has claimed 2 lives, not 1. Right. Because we can become, that becomes our life mission or our life goal. And sometimes I feel that that's the truth, honestly, with many of our women, that's what they live, towards day in and day out. Signs of him changing, instead of saying, like this girl did, like, no more. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to get support. I'm going to get help. I'm going to have friendships. I'm going to participate in tennis. I'm going to live, whether, you get well or not. So, yeah.
So I think that's
the end of my
No, this is so cool. Yeah. I mean, we've got lots of questions coming in. And so we'll get to them in just a second. I just want to add into the conversation as well that we talked about before. We don't have the answers. Elise and I do not pretend to have the answers. You have the answers. And when we say that as coaches, it's so powerful because only you know what the signs are of him changing, of your situation being different. Only you know that. Because like we've mentioned already, there's the checkbox he can do. He can recite things from a textbook.
Start praying.
I know. Church. Yeah. Oh yeah. Pray harder, do the devotions. Oh, like I know in my heart when it's authentic. Yeah. That's the real sign of change. So spoiler alert, you've spent half an hour with us already, but that's ultimately what it's all about, is the heart change. And only you know what that is. Other people could feed into you and go, oh, well, he's doing this and that's great. And pat him on the back. And you're going, no, not feeling that connection that Elise talked about.
Right.
Whatever's going on with him, you will feel it. That's how you know.
You'll be able to observe it as well. Right. I mean, you'll see that he's not going to his counselor, or he's not going to support group, or he's not, listening well, or he's not, he's beginning to.
If he's still verbally abusing you and that you use the word, but, I'm okay, but you did this. That could be some of your situations. It's verbal abuse, right? So, okay, let's keep going with some questions.
Yeah. I feel
Okay, so
Go ahead.
you go ahead.
You're me? You?
Yeah,
Me?
you.
I feel so guilty. What do I do if I really don't want to give him one more chance? Oh boy, we've heard this, and I feel
Mhm.
for you to prove that he is changing. He's been 28 years of the same patterns without real remorse and real repentance. I just don't want to live this life anymore. Is it wrong to want to give up?
No.
No. Yeah. I mean, the truth is, we all have limitations. And I think the truth is, you've come to a place of acceptance that this is the guy he wants to be. Now you need to make a decision. Is that the person I can live with? Right? He
Mhm.
doesn't want to do differently. He may temporarily to maybe he doesn't really want to be divorced, but he doesn't really want to be married. He doesn't want to do the things that honor and cherish, right? And love and support.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you need to feel guilty because you're saying, I'm actually believing you, right? I think that's wisdom to
Yeah.
say, I want you to be who you want to be. And it's not that it's not good enough. It's not okay with me. So,
Well, and a question I often ask my clients, and I'll ask all of you right now, is if this is as good as it gets,
right.
are you okay with that? And you might be.
Yeah.
And me, if this is like, if nothing changes right
Right.
now,
Right. Right.
maybe you don't need to see that. Maybe you don't need to see certain changes. Maybe you're okay. And it's okay because of your values. So remember that too, right?
Yeah. Right.
Your values are no less valuable than his.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
I hope that's helpful for you. And ladies, as we kind of participate in the chat and I love everybody's comments and how it's coming along. We want to be sure that we really are kind of doing this in community, right? That we are supporting one another as we are talking about this subject today. And so let's again move on to some questions and let's
Mhm.
participate as Jen and I are talking, kind of with how we are supporting the person that's asking these questions because we want to be a supportive you. If I could ask, in the regards to the apology language and change, I have expressed to my husband that I don't care about the words "I'm sorry" anymore, and they have lost their meaning over the years. I'm sure. I care more about seeing changed action, and that's how I know someone gets my hurt and is working towards treating me differently. Yes. My husband doesn't agree. He will argue with me, saying that everyone needs to hear, "I'm sorry" first, and that's part of the real apology. I've expressed to him that it's okay for us to need different apologies. And so this speaks to you, Jen, and she heard that of what you were saying.
Mhm.
And so he's stuck on those words, "I'm sorry." So if I say, "I recognize I shouldn't have yelled at you," you need not, I need to not do that. He doesn't consider it an apology. And so I never apologize. Ooh, I
Mm.
got confused here at the end.
No, I know. It's the wording. It's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It goes
Uh,
back to those apology languages, doesn't it?
right. Right.
Whoever thought that was a thing?
Mm-mm. Right. And what's kind of sad or curious to me is the resistance
Yeah.
around wanting to repair. And I think, we don't want to hear, all we, is "I'm sorry." Although, you were saying your husband is kind of good with "I'm sorry." But I think we often need to say what we're sorry about. And to be honest, that may be just how he can start it. He doesn't know how to, or he's not, good at kind of just jumping right in. That's his kind of his runway a little bit. And
Yeah.
so, but I think you've expressed that, and I think I would love to see that he would try to do it in a way that you would receive it. And I think that this goes back a little bit to the willfulness
Yeah.
versus willingness. Are you
Yes.
willing, like you've offended me, are you willing to hear how I might best be restored? And now all of a sudden there's resistance and there's this willfulness to say no. I have to do it my way. What does that mean for me?
Boundaries. Which is a whole other conversation and everything that we get into, but as we do the Conquer journey, but right, it's like, okay, so you're not able to give it to me the way I need it. Then what? What am I going to do to keep myself and my heart safe?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And if I think, again, let me just kind of reiterate, I think his willfulness, not his willingness, is where you're getting tripped up. And I think it's interfering, right, with restoration. And then I think you need to make a decision. What do I want to do with that? He doesn't, right? And I'm sorry that he's stuck on that.
I know.
What about deflection or acting like a victim instead of taking ownership? Well, that's the antithesis of not taking ownership. So there you go. I think that's a great question. And it's kind of goes back to my answer of willfulness versus willingness, that he's not willing to accept responsibility. That's what an owner does.
Yeah.
That was my behavior. I made that choice. It was not a good choice. It was an affront or offensive to, my promise and fidelity to you in whatever way. Right. And so, yes, I take full responsibility. Here's what I'm going to do in order to, make amends, to restore us, because us is important. Right. Yeah. And so that's like, those are good signs to say, hey, there's no change. Zero.
So we might need to change the topic for this. What are not the signs of change right now? Because we're hearing your hearts. This is what's coming up is we're questioning, we're challenging ourselves. And ladies, whoever's listening, that is so important to you right now, please know we are with you. We love you. We care about you. And you know better than anybody. If change is happening. Like I said earlier, in your heart, that connection, like Elise talked about as well, the opposite of anything is connection. So please listen to that. Join this group. You can join Conquer to get some validation, to get some love, to get some feedback.
Right. And I think that this is a little bit what you guys are doing on the chat a little bit today as we watch and we observe that, is that you've seen this topic come up and you're engaging in it and you're responding to one another and from one another, right? And I think that that's a beautiful thing. I want you to stay with Jen and I in the process, but this is what Conquer looks like, is that you have a safe place to go and put it out there, and all these, women will help you and respond to it and give you feedback. And so please think about, being a part of that at your fingertips. You don't have to wait for these Facebook Lives, right? You can do that at night or, when the children are in bed or, at another time, and like, just go get in your car and like, I just need a safe place to, sit at Chick-fil-A for a minute and text my, put a comment on Facebook and get some feedback, right? And feel supported and feel connected to. And so, this is kind of what it looks like in real, within this very safe container of Conquer, along with so much what Jenna was talking about, that we meet twice a month and where the coaches get on and we do a Q&A where we listen to you and we spread out the questions, so to speak, so all of you will feel supported on it, but we'll be speaking one-on-one, and you'll, like you could almost be in a coaching session, right? You'll be on with other women, but we answer about 10 or more questions on these coaching calls that are just like this, where you can feel super supported. And I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and there's Conquer sisters here, and they get together, go out to dinner, and all of a sudden, like, I am not in this life journey alone. And so it feels so beautiful. And so, ladies, please be a part of joining Conquer. Where are we? We're good on time.
We've got a couple more questions we can answer, I think. And Karen already put into the chat, thank you, that post what your biggest takeaway is from today, because we want to hear from you. Other sisters are going to learn from this, but Elise and I learned from this too.
Oh,
What's your biggest takeaway?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as you can hear the energy about this conversation and with the chat, this is a big topic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's feedback for us that we need to take this bigger. Who
Right.
knows?
Right.
because we have to end in just a few moments. So yeah, so keep posting into the chat what your biggest takeaway is. In the meantime, we have a chance to answer a couple of more questions. So
Yeah. I love
what's
it.
the
Go
next
ahead.
one you want to do?
Yeah, go ahead. Whichever one you want to choose.
What if real change has happened, but he's already lost your heart where it's just too late? The change only came after possibly losing your wife, but not after years and years of check engine light warnings. It's like taking your car to a shop after it's no longer running.
Right. Again, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a statement, not as much a question, because that can happen. That is a natural consequence of repeated offending, and not saying I'm really willing to do differently.
Mm-hmm.
Is that someone's not that their heart is hardened, but they've gone and they said, I'm not going to let you hurt me any further.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sorry that it's too late. But I had to, along the, every time that you were driving with the engine light warning, I had to, I was speaking up. I was telling you, this hurts, this hurts. Pay attention. Right. And the natural consequence is you burnt the engine up. You burnt me out.
Yeah.
We are real beings.
Yeah, it's funny that funny, ironic, whatever, that this came up because it was a therapist that my husband and I had 12, 13 years ago. And she said to my husband, so when Jen tells you that something's going wrong with the car, do you listen? It was that it's intuition. And he was like, well, whatever, like he's got it figured out, right? No, I'm the one that's listening. I'm the one that's speaking up, saying something is wrong.
Right.
Something's not right here. Help me.
Right.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Right.
Going off. Anyway, so that was, it's like taking the car to the shop after I'm like, yep, too late. We're already on the side of the road now. I could already hear the tire was flat, but here we are.
Right. And here we are.
Yeah.
And we're all going, what?
Yeah.
What? I was going to get it fixed. I was. I promise I was.
Oh, yeah. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about love bombing today. So I'm just going to put that on all of you. Sorry to do that, but that's something that I'm sure a lot of you have experienced and that we have to address. We have to address what that means for those that haven't heard it before, for those that have experienced it. It's often a consequence of the signs and the confusion that comes in when we hope that they're changing. Right. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know so many other questions. Which one do you want to wrap up with? Because we've only got a few minutes left.
Myself and my heart safe often leads me to feeling like I'm going so cold-hearted and distant, very protective, where I won't let him get close. But I wonder at what point is that defense mechanism on my part and potentially putting a block towards receiving what they may be able to give. And I think your question holds a lot of hope for that. Right. And I think in general, the population of women and the coaches and all of us, that we're tenderhearted, and it's a part of our faith walk is that we love and we love well. And so we don't want to be, that would be the antithesis of our faith walk, is to be cold-hearted, right? But God all through his word says, he who walks with the wise will grow wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm. And so, the instruction and it says the prudent see danger and take refuge. It's the simple that keep going. So God's word instructs us, right? You're not hard-hearted. You're being wise and saying, this is not the person you want to be. I have eyes to see. I've made evaluation, and I see that in your behavior and in your words, you want to do this. You want to choose this behavior. You want to be this person. And that's not congruent or consistent with, marriage.
Yeah.
And years and years, you want to still do that. And then you want me to forgive you over and over again. I can forgive you, but I can't be in a relationship with you. Right.
Mm.
I can't have close connection, because to be in close connection with you, repeatedly, you have shown me who you want to be. And that's that you will harm me given the right time and the right circumstance. And I'm choosing to say no. It's not a hard heart, it's wisdom. And certainly we have to begin to close our heart off to one that we have opened our heart to. Doesn't mean it's a hard heart. It may mean protection.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be careful with our words sometimes, ladies, right? There's a difference between protecting ourselves, which scripture calls us to do, and a hard heart, which scripture tells us not to do, right? And really, when we talk about a hard heart, it's a hard heart towards our Lord anyway, right? That's what gets us in trouble. And sin will get us there.
Oh.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm a sinner.
I'm a sinner.
Mm.
Right.
So we have to be mindful of that. So listen to the Holy Spirit, what he's telling you. Only you know what's really going on in your dynamic, in your relationship, about these signs that he's really changing. We've had a prolific discussion today between Elise and I. Thank you, Karen, all the chat that's been going on. Continue that conversation, but you can also continue it further through signing up in Conquer.
Right.
That's where you will get thousands of women that will love on you, that have been there, done that, are at the same place.
Right.
Where you will find that sisterhood to help you get through this.
Right. Right. And ladies, let me just say, it's not just a Facebook chat. It is videos. It is, meetups. It's just information, times that we connect, as the coaches, on and on and on with you. In the Facebook time will be kind of a daily thing that you can engage in. But we have such an enormous video library where you can, at any point in time, reach out and really be a part of that. And we're going to take all the new people through a Conquer journey of really saying, let's set your feet on solid ground as you come into this. And we believe that you will really be blessed by being a part of the group.
So one last question that we have before we go, because we have to leave here in a minute. Am I going to miss a lot of Conquer because I'm not on Facebook? No.
I'd say
That's you.
Well, a little bit, not everything. You're not, but
whatever you define as a lot, there is a deep connection with women on Facebook, and you get to know people as you're going through. So that's up to you. But are you ultimately going to lose? No, that's FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, as we call it. So that might be something you want to be coached on down the road. But it's also about, like we've said, the monthly Conquer calls. It's the sisterhood in between. It's all the resources that Leslie has so generously given us. It's all those things. So will you ultimately miss out by not being on Facebook? Probably not. But I would encourage you even just to make up an account just for that.
Yeah, if you've enjoyed this, I would encourage you to think about joining Facebook so you could be a part of that as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jen, this was a treat always.
I know. Love you. Okay. And thank you everybody for all of your engagement. And we will check in on the chat later. And you can watch the replay as well and some feedback for sure. So
Karen, would you put up for us what's tomorrow? And I'm going to quickly get to the top of this so I can say
tomorrow is, I can tell you. Okay. Yeah. So Karen might be able to do that, but tomorrow is at the same time, same place. Stop falling in love with potential.
It's me and Leanne or Leanne and I.
Yep.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Opium is what I'm hearing. So
exactly.
I'll be there watching you all. And thank you everybody for being here. And thank you, Karen, so much. All right. See you later. Bye.